Welcome to Beyond the Logo, where we talk with marketers who are building fandom. I'm one of your hosts, Todd Harris.
Mike Lewis.
And Mike, we got a good one today. A guest who's been a long-time marketer here in Atlanta around some of our city's biggest brands and biggest events. And she's working on a pretty cool upcoming project you might have heard something about. So with us today is Jen Johns. Jen, maybe introduce yourself to our audience here.
Well, hello. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Jen Johns, and I am the Executive Director of Decatur WatchFest. Um, I've spent the last 25 plus years working in the sports and entertainment industry, primarily in marketing, with companies such as Cartoon Network and AMB Sports and Entertainment, running marketing for the Atlanta Falcons and Mercedes-Benz Stadium, helping launch Atlanta United through our creative team. Moved over to Super Bowl 53. Have spent some time in esports. Have spent some time in sports betting and the all of that space and all of that entails with Caesars Sportsbook. And then rolled to On Location, where we did all of the marketing for all of the platforms across North America, from the NFL and all of their events to the NCAA and the Final Four and all 8 different championship series, to motorsports and tennis and golf like the Masters and a variety of things like that. And then when I rolled off of that and began consulting, I got pulled in by the city of Decatur to help with this event that's happening now.
Is awesome. I mean, I feel like if it came through Atlanta or was birthed in Atlanta, Jen was a part of it, right?
I mean, a big part of everything that's happened in Atlanta culture for a few decades, right?
Well, yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, Super Bowl 53 was probably the biggest milestone. Pulling that off with a great group of folks at the Super Bowl host committee, who are mostly now working on the World Cup host committee.
Yeah, so you said the words World Cup, and Super Bowl was a amazing event, amazing advertising event for the city of Atlanta, I would say, and our capabilities. And now we've got, I guess, the world's biggest potential advertising marketing moment happening with the World Cup coming in June. It seems like Decatur has really taken the lead in terms of this community activation. So I guess just share with us a little bit about what the event is, first of all, and then how it came to be.
Well, Decatur WatchFest is a 34-day festival. It runs right alongside FIFA World Cup, and it's a celebration of all things World Cup and culture. It was conceived by the city leaders of Decatur because they had a history with major sporting events that dated back to the 1996 Olympics. And when they were very active and planned for that, they had a women's soccer match in town. They were the home of the Irish contingent. They did some basketball interaction there, and a lot of people discovered Decatur. Oh, they had several concerts. A lot of people discovered Decatur for the first time, and they have been able to mark their history before the Olympics and since the Olympics with tremendous growth and economic development, and just a sort of a not only a boom in the economy but a boom in growth of residents. So it's one of those things that they're learning from their history and their success in that area, and they planned. These are conversations that are going back on 2 years. I've been involved with it for a year and a half or more, and we formed a committee of the city government decided they wanted to commit to something big. We formed a committee of 30 some people from across residents, business owners, and people within the city staff who have all sort of come together to bring this to life.
Yeah, this is interesting because we talk about building fandom and the stakeholders, and here's a case where the the city, right? The municipality recognized the economic development impact, it sounds like, of a previous major event, and they're kind of leaning into it here.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, trying to always bring these big events back to a local foundation is always going to be the key to this stuff. And it's interesting because this is clearly leveraging this global event to touch, to touch and build the Decatur community, which is a little bit of the opposite pathway we see usually.
Well, and we know that there's something special about Decatur with regards to soccer. We have the highest proportion of soccer fans per capita in the greater Atlanta area. So we know that we already have a built-in fan base and a passion for the sport. We also know that we do festivals well. And there are festivals, so many of them throughout the year that it's sort of a specialty of the city. But then, we want to be a gathering spot where people can remember, create those memories that are going to last a lifetime and have a really good feel-good memory of their time in Decatur and their time associating with various events and brands and properties.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you've got, a few of the key stakeholders there. Obviously, there's the global event coming to town. You have the community that already has some endemic soccer fans. You're working with local businesses probably and other
Yes.
local stakeholders. I guess, how are you thinking about, and you got 34 days to fill, how are you thinking about the content and the programming and the activation approach? Just walk us through that.
Well, we are creating a hybrid event. It's held on the square in the city of Decatur, which is right on top of a MARTA station. So number one, it's super easy to get to from downtown. So if you've done your time and you've experienced the Fan Fest downtown, or it's between the days that the Fan Fest is open, you can guarantee that something is happening in Decatur. It's a more low-key approach. It is a smaller, more intimate activation around the tournament, but we are also not only looking to attract soccer fans from near and far, tourism, as well as folks from two burbs over that want to come in, but we're also thinking about folks that are not soccer fans. And each day of our event, there will be a concert. We have 3 tentpole concerts and a lot of intermediate and small range bands. Our main acts include Big Boy on June 11th, The War and Treaty on June 25th, and then the Indigo Girls, Decatur's hometown favorite, that are performing for the final on Decatur Square on our new stage. And the city of Decatur has been going through a multi-million-dollar renovation of Decatur Square. So this is an opportunity to use it as a springboard to open that space and to christen it and to give back to the businesses who've been so patient through the construction process.
Amazing. Saw the Indigo Girls at Chastain. They still rock. Highly recommend. So, I don't know, Mike, we didn't bring our stats today, but, in terms of just soccer fans and fandom, as Jen describes that, how do you think about, the soccer audience or the Atlanta soccer audience compared to other sports? Or
let me ask you a question. So you mentioned that Decatur over-indexes on soccer
That's
fandom.
correct.
Is that based on Atlanta United data? So this is where the hot spot is in terms of where the season ticket holders live?
Well, east of downtown, inside the perimeter, is a hotbed for soccer, and there's a lot of other hotbeds too. But in that space, and Decatur's kind of in the epicenter of that, and there's lots of other communities as well, and they, a lot of them play at Inter Atlanta. I don't know if you know this, but Decatur FC is a minor league women's team that has broken all kinds of attendance records since its inception. It's going into into their 3rd season this summer, and the attraction of soccer fans in that area is insane. So when you get on a MARTA train going into an Atlanta United match, it is loaded with fans, and so we know that they live near us.
Yeah, so I'm going way back on something here that our paths may have crossed without us knowing it. Years ago, in teaching a sports marketing class at Emory, we would run a survey of Atlanta sports fandom. And the first year we ran it, and we were working with the Falcons and the coming United, the Hawks, the Braves, etc. And so we got really interesting signals on that data. And I mean, I almost suspect you saw that data processed through some of your local people at the Falcons, that there was this hotbed of fandom. And we've always been sort of fascinated by soccer in Atlanta. And when you say it really localizes in Decatur, I think there's really interesting stories there in terms of like local targeting and where certain types of people live and certain types of fandoms grow and blossom.
Yeah, it's fascinating, really. And at least with the Falcons, a lot of folks did not maybe have an MLS team to call their own at the time of the launch.
Yeah.
So they were able to say, well, even if they were from Philadelphia and they might be an Eagles fan from birth, they didn't have an MLS. Maybe they weren't attached necessarily to their MLS team in Philadelphia, so they've moved to Atlanta without a team and were able to adopt Atlanta United. And then there's plenty of international soccer fans in that region as well, and so we like to adopt them also.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't know how much you want to get in the weeds in terms of soccer, but that was always that those statements that Atlanta's full of transients, and the people from Chicago didn't have a soccer team.
Yep.
Right? They weren't going to switch from the Bears to the Falcons, and so the United was this beautiful moment where suddenly they had a way to connect with Atlanta sports.
Well, and
Yeah.
there is the Chicago Fire, and there is the Philly Union. But if they moved during that time of transition, maybe before or when MLS was in its infancy, maybe they didn't attach, and then they got a chance to here.
Yeah. So United women's team, obviously U.S. soccer coming to
course.
the Metro Atlanta area generally. So yeah, and so it sounds like the origin of this, again, city of Decatur understands the impact. Soccer is coming. They've got a great audience, but it sounds like maybe some of your business goals are leverage soccer and soccer fandom and leave people with a great emotional connection with Decatur, right?
Sure.
So how do you think about that? How do you think about like what that emotional connection that they might leave with? They're coming for the soccer, I guess, and they're leaving.
They're leaving
Loving.
with positive experiences.
Yep.
I think that we all know that brands like to attach to events and live events because they know that there'll be positive association with a really positive, lasting memory.
Yep.
So we're trying to create great memories. And we know that can be spoiled by the lack of attention to detail. So we're really working on that. I've said that we've been working on this for a year and a half, and we have been digging into the details for over a year now. And now we're within 60 days of the event, and tying up all the loose ends.
I love it. Well, feels like they were lucky to find you. You got experience with all these previous events, including the Super Bowl. Are there any specific things from your previous work that you're bringing to this with regard to the activation or storytelling or attention to detail?
Well, I think all of those apply. Certainly, we've been, when I was with AMB, with the Falcons, with the organization, our mission was to have a really wonderful fan experience from front door to front door. So from the time that you left your house to the time that you returned home. And that's making sure that everyone has all of the information on how to get here, the easiest way to get here, where to park, what you can bring, what you can't bring in, the ticketing experience, etc. So we're working with Eventbrite on an event system that is a free ticketing system that makes sure that we've got the online capabilities that a bigger system might have. We will make sure that we're sharing information about parking and transportation and how to ride MARTA and where to get off and that experience of getting through the gates. just like to add, most of our events do not require any ticket.
Hmm.
So 31 days of concerts and watching matches, etc., does not require any ticket. But for capacity issues, we're ticketing just 3 of our concerts.
Got it. So if we want to be there for Big Boy, just so we know and can plan, that is an Eventbrite. There'll be an Eventbrite link for that particular day.
There
or
is the first batch of tickets. There will be 2 batches, and the first wave of tickets were sold out in 45 minutes.
Oh,
For
missed it.
Big Boy and Indigo Girls,
All
and
right.
for Warren Tree, it took a little bit longer, but it's still in the same day. And then, so the next batch and the final tranche, if you will, of tickets will go soon, and I suspect that they also will be very quickly claimed.
Nice. I like it. What do you think, Mike?
I think it's an amazing event. I always start to wonder like what else is happening, and I think this is almost a distraction. So I'm hesitant to say this, but I mean, does this sort of work through that as you ticket people to these events, that this becomes something where the city of Decatur has a database and almost a CRM system for marketing itself in terms of cultural events?
I think that we want to make sure we get across the finish line with a tremendous
Okay.
event first. But I suspect that that is something that will be helpful in the future for future events. Now, with this new stage, with this new venue, very large, open environment, that will have a variety of content and concerts and festivals in the future, that the information will be helpful for
Got it.
various, and we've got 3 different genres, so they can segment those people in that way too.
So you slid something in there that I wasn't aware of. New stage. I mean, when these big events come, it's great infrastructure-wise for the residents, right? It happened
Sure.
with the Olympics, and it's happening all across downtown. So in Decatur, it sounds like, again, I might have missed it, but there's some new infrastructure, specifically a stage, I guess.
There is, and it wasn't necessarily based
Hmm.
created for this. It was part of our master plan, and so this has been going on even longer than they've ideated the World Cup activation or Decatur WatchFest. But there was a gazebo in the middle of the
That
town square. You remember
I
that?
remember the gazebo.
That has
Kids would play
been
soccer in front of it.
Exactly. There were concerts on it, but you couldn't see the band. It was at a weird angle. And for festivals, it was right in the middle, so you were always structured around it. So now that's gone. That's been removed. The hole down into the MARTA station has been filled in, and we are putting the finishing touches on surfacing and putting the final touches on the green room behind the stage and the where the trusses will attach on the roof, and then there's some permanent restrooms that have been built as well for the space, and then there's some kid play areas on the other side of the square that are also being finished.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, well, I guess I'll start by saying being here in Atlanta and being in the event business and the fandom business, there's so much excitement about the World Cup, and we know the games are happening. We know there's going to be a Fan Fest activation right there near the Benz, and now we know and have heard about this great watch event in 34 days, and I feel like there's a lot of other brands or municipalities that are kind of still trying to figure it out, even though it's like 2 months away. So, one, I just want to say props, I think, to the city and to you for just taking the lead and doing something. I'm sure that I don't know if you have any reaction to that, but it feels pretty impressive that there's such a big commitment there.
Well, yeah, the vision of the city of Decatur has been tremendous, and I know the leadership really dug in and committed early. We announced that we were doing something on May 8th of last year.
Yep.
And so we're coming up on that 1 year anniversary of that announcement. And it's been a long road, but that gives us enough time to do it right.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of other municipalities that are doing maybe a 1 day something or a 2 day something, and that's lovely. And now we're sort of headed into the being the place to be. So we're talking to various organizations to make sure that they know they're welcome in Decatur. We're working with consulates to talk to their expats and their guests from out of town. We're making sure that we're talking to fan groups for the teams that are playing in the first 5 group stage matches, so that they know about our event. And we're working with the ACVB to make sure that we're present on all of their communications so that people can find us.
Yeah. So those are already a lot of best practices. But I guess for maybe a brand or an event organizer or a venue out there who is going to come to your event, and but maybe they want to do something, they want to be involved. Maybe it's a one-day thing, or they're thinking about a watch party, or they just want to participate at their place or at their company. Is there what would be like 1 or 2 things of advice you might share with those folks?
Well, in order to have a viewing party, there's media rights that need to be secured, and that's something that there's a process for that. You can go online and find the links, and you can apply.
Yep.
I will say that process takes quite a long time, and so I would suggest you get on that today.
Yep.
And that's even inside of a restaurant or bar that currently shows the matches. You're supposed to get your rights for that. There's no cost if it's something you already do, but there's something that you need to do. If it's an outdoor event of a certain size that doesn't have sponsorship involved, it's another path, but you still need to go and get your media rights. And then if it's a even larger event with partners involved, then it's a even bigger process, and it takes a little bit longer than that. So I would recommend you get involved in that today. Then I would also suggest you sort of pay close attention to the brand rules and regulations, because we're being very careful that we are called the Decatur WatchFest. So we are a generic name with a generic brand, that we are not trying to intimate that we are an official anything of FIFA World Cup.
Yep.
So we're trying to play very nicely in that sandbox and not follow all the rules that are required.
Of course. Guess a brand or company could, they can choose to be inside that kind of zone or not, and there's different guidelines for both, but still being respectful, obviously, of the sport and the brand. So.
And for us to get our media rights, we have to only partner with partners that have the rights and privileges. So we can't talk to a Pepsi or a Delta, etc., because there are brands in those categories that are exclusive to FIFA, and we wouldn't want to mess with that.
Right, in order to get the watch party media rights.
Well, not only and to respect
and respect the
the
commitment they've made to the global event. Right, makes sense. Any thoughts on all that? You see this?
Many thoughts, but because we've had it reminds me of the thing we see with the Super Bowl every year, where suddenly it's the big game.
Yes.
Right. And I don't know if you want to touch on it, but we had this media story for a couple of days of how were they going to remove the words Mercedes-Benz from the stadium, and I believe they
decided they
just
couldn't.
Leave it
was
on.
an exception.
Yeah.
We got the one exception, I think. So.
Well, it was incredibly difficult talking to my friends in the building, around the building. When the roof is closed, there's a giant logo on the top. Not only the big ones on the sides, and ones on every end of every row of seats. So we'll see what they're able to remove. I know they're removing so many logos from within the building as well.
Right, and obviously it's every location, right? It's in theory it's the Atlanta stadium, right?
Right.
But some things could not be removed, and they'll be a part of it. So excellent. How are you sharing? This is another just kind of tactical question, I guess, in terms of budget between experience on site or media. Maybe there's some other major items you're considering, but how are you just thinking about that in broad strokes, I guess?
I think we are, we are leaning into the customer experience. We're our programming, our entertainment, and that is the majority of what we're doing. We're also working with earned media with our PR team. Leff and Associates has been amazing, and they've been very helpful to us to expand the capacity of what the city of Decatur can do, and lean into relationships with the media to just make sure that our story is being told. We have a tremendous social media team that has been building our social media channels, and it doesn't hurt to have a big boy launch and an Indigo Girls launch and various announcements on those levels. But Decatur WatchFest 26 is a great follow. I'm
Yep.
telling you.
Yep.
But we are, and our website is also really strong to make sure that we have a place for all of our information, our schedule, our announcements, links to everything. But we're not necessarily doing outdoor signage.
Mm-hmm.
We're not necessarily spending on radio or doing a lot of a deep dive on digital spend, just because we're leaning in instead to the experience. So our relationships have been very important to us. People that can then continue to tell our story far and wide to make sure that our audience and the audience we haven't met yet gets to know us, and gets to plan their schedule this summer around Decatur WatchFest.
Awesome. I mean, I think it feels pretty smart, I guess. My hot take would be you create those amazing, memorable experiences. And in today's world of so much digital content, people come, there's user generated content and positive
Exactly.
organic social media because everyone's recording that concert or that watch party. So feels like an exciting moment for the city and hopefully great return for Decatur. So.
Well, and look, I don't spend I don't know how familiar people are watching, listening with Decatur, but my guess would be that your event's naturally going to fill, right?
Fill up.
It's
Yeah.
going to fill up.
Yep.
And so I think there's probably also tremendous opportunities as like you have almost like a content factory to market Decatur in the future out of this.
We do, and we're planning for that.
Yeah.
In fact, over the last couple of days, going, all right, we need to capture all of this. We need to make sure we're sharing it. We're also working on our internet capacity and our Wi-Fi capacity to make sure that the user-generated content can be instantly shared.
Yep.
And that people can have a really good experience. I know that we did exactly the same thing with some really tech geniuses at AMB, with Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You never have trouble getting a signal. You never have trouble uploading a video, etc. And we want to be the same in Decatur when we have maximum capacity.
That's important to be able to share it. Slight aside, Taylor Swift, my daughter, went and saw her. We went and saw her in Atlanta, but then my daughter saw almost every other concert through people doing TikTok live to show the secret song. She would just dial in, and it wasn't just her, like millions. So yeah, you need that reliable Wi-Fi to
Yeah,
help your
create
local
those
event.
experiences.
Local event get global reach. Awesome. Well, I think we may be wrapping it up, but I would love to, I mean, number one, understand how do listeners and viewers keep up with what is happening at WatchFest? What should they be following?
Well, as I mentioned, a great follow is at DecaturWatchFest26.com, and our website is DecaturWatchFest26.com.
Amazing. And I guess what
So
are
wait,
you?
So the same handle across
The
Instagram,
same handle across
Twitter,
Instagram.
X,
Yes.
et cetera. Okay.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah. And then I guess is there one thing you're most excited about personally that?
Well, I'm very excited about the concert series. I'm a soccer fan at heart. I played in college. I am good to go with all of the matches. There are some really tremendous matchups, not only some in the group stage, but some just in that second round. So I'm really excited about the possibilities that are happening in the single elimination rounds, round of 32, round of 16, etc. We've got a semifinal hosted here. That's going to be amazing. And then back to our concerts, Big Boy, The War and Treaty, and Indigo Girls are going to be great. We're hosting U.S. matches at Decatur WatchFest, so there will be 3, maybe 4 or more of those. So that's going to be tremendous. And there's some really niche bands that I'm excited to see. The Stews in particular are going to draw a younger crowd, So really excited about that.
Yeah, platform for some up and coming or just new genres for people to discover.
Exactly. And we're trying to cover all of that.
Yeah.
So Juneteenth, we have John Boy and Surround Sound, which is a very, very fun band, and just a lot of some Brit rock bands like Her Majesty's Request are playing before an England match, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jen. I'm going to keep
Thanks.
my eyes out for tranche number 2. Sounds like coming soon. And everyone should check out the Decatur WatchFest. And hopefully you guys picked up on some tips for your own city or municipality, whether you're in the metro Atlanta area or beyond. So with that, we'll
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you
sign
so
off.
much.
Thanks.
Thanks.